Hey folks, it's Chris back with another comic book review, and this time I wanted to do something pretty much like I did this time last year, Captain America. It's almost Independence Day, so I've been thinking about it a lot lately, and yeah, I could wait a week or two, but I'm impatient. As soon as I decided what issue I wanted to review, I was like, I just gotta do this now. So last year we started with the very early Captain America comics. We're going to jump way far forward into, well, more recent, the 90s, the early 90s. At that point in time, Captain America was being written by a guy named Mark Gruenwald, the late Mark Gruenwald. And I really liked his work on Captain America. He had a 10-year-long run. From 1985 to 1995, he was the writer of Captain America. Very loyal writer to the comics that he created. He stuck with them. And I think he did a lot of really great things during his run. I remember the Bloodstone Hunt was an awesome saga. There was stuff like the Scourge of the Underworld. He created Crossbones. That's such an iconic Captain America villain, but he was only created in the early 90s. He's actually a pretty recent arch enemy. He's great. He's fantastic. But anyway, 10 years, that's a long run, and yeah, there's a few clunkers in there. One that's particularly infamous among Captain America fans is the 6-issue long CapWolf arc. Yeah, it's pretty much just what it sounds like. Captain America is turned into a werewolf. But he really doesn't have any problems. It's not like he's dealing with a curse and, you know, he's feeling the urge to bite other people. Nothing like that. He's just got extra werewolf powers for a few issues. It's not very good. We're going to actually skip the first 4 issues and start in the 5th one of this little mini-series of a story. This was issue number 406 that we're going to review today. And as far as tropes, what did Mark Gruenwald do a lot of? Well, like I say, he was loyal to the characters that he created, and that's because he loved Marvel Comics continuity. He was a master of it. He knew everything there was to know. And so a frequent thing that would happen in his issues is there would be references to other storylines that are going on, or minor cameos of all sorts of supporting characters across all sorts of titles, characters from Captain America's past. He was the continuity master, and I think we'll probably come across some of that stuff. So, we will read this issue in just a sec, and as we come across any of those tropes, we're actually going to cut to CapWolf himself. That's right, I got a special guest star this week. Captain America as a werewolf will be joining us, and he'll be trying out some of his new stand-up comedy jokes with us. So that's pretty nice of him to devote some time. I can't wait to see what he has to say, so let's get to it. Let's dig right into this issue, number 406 of Captain America. The issue kicks off with a splash page, and there's no mystery, there's no nuance. It's just Captain America is a werewolf already, and he's being lured into a cage by a villain called Dr. Nightshade. Now, Dr. Nightshade had appeared in the past as an enemy of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Captain America, and once even Luke Cage and Iron Fist. So she's sort of a genius scientist. She has, in the past, turned people into werewolves, obviously relevant to this. They're coming back to that idea. But she's also come up with a formula that can turn men into women, and she can also create robots, those hassled Power Man and Iron Fist. So yeah, she's just sort of an evil scientist, but she always kind of works for somebody else. Like in the past, she's worked for Yellow Claw, Superior, and in this story, she's working for a very lame villain called Dreadmond Druid. Anyway, she has turned Captain America into a werewolf, and he had escaped, but she's saying, hey, I won't cure you unless you get back in this cage. And for some reason, Captain America's like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I'll get back into this cage, and she'll probably cure me later. Anyway, characters like Nightshade and Dreadmond Druid are pretty obscure, and that's absolutely a trope. So, Captain America, or should I say CapWolf, how about a joke?
Folks, hello! Have you heard the one about the werewolf who ate a clock? He got ticks.
Captain America drops into the pit and we can hear his thoughts. He thinks to himself, need to make her change me back. Back to what? Human, not wolf. Yeah, so this issue makes the decision, maybe it's a good one, for Captain America not to talk too much as a werewolf. But instead, we're subjected to his thoughts constantly. And let me tell you, Captain America spends a lot of time in his own head, kind of like a freshman philosophy student who's just discovered existentialism. A bunch of werewolves surround Captain America and he thinks to himself, trying to what word? Intimidate me. And sure enough, all the wolves surround Captain America. They seem threatening enough, and a big, tough white wolf emerges from the pack. But mostly we just hear sound effects, including grar, woo, ourp, and rag. This is like dialogue straight out of the Star Wars holiday special. It sounds like a bunch of Wookiees trying to communicate with each other. The White Wolf leaps at Captain America, and he seems to rest his hands on the White Wolf's back and toss him up into the ceiling, which knocks him out. The artwork in this story is by a guy named Rick Levins, and like the central value in a set of data, it's average. Now we cut to the main villain, Dreadman Druid, who has Dr. Druid, a superhero, chained up. And Dreadman basically just monologues, not getting into the specifics of his plan, and trying to threaten Dr. Druid, mostly by just cutting his hair. So Dreadman is about as threatening as a Floby. Now, Dr. Druid showing up, that's a trope. So let's cut to CapWolf, and I'll be right back.
Why are werewolves better than vampires? Because they eat steaks.
So yeah, Dr. Druid. Well, he's really not exactly an obscure character, but he certainly isn't very beloved. If you can't get Doctor Strange, you have to settle for Dr. Druid. And in fact, that's literally what happened in this story. When Captain America realized there was a problem with werewolves that he went to investigate, first, of course, he went to Doctor Strange. Oh, Doctor Strange was busy? Fine, I guess I'll settle for Dr. Druid, the other supernatural guy that I know. Dr. Druid isn't very interesting. He can hypnotize people and he can float. He is not very cool or tough or powerful. Obviously, he's been captured. He's already locked up, some sidekick. So he's not very useful to Captain America in this storyline. Dreadman literally says, "Your coming to Starksborough is most fortuitous, Anthony. Had you not stumbled into my clutches, I'd soon have come looking for you." That's right. Apparently, Dr. Druid getting caught was part of Dreadman's plan, which basically is a pure coincidence, because Captain America first went to Doctor Strange. He had to settle for Dr. Druid. Amazing. Dreadman's plan makes no sense. Alright, it's time to break down what this story's all about. First, Captain America had a friend and pilot named John Jameson go missing. Fair enough. It started his investigation, it brought him to this town, he stumbled into this whole big plot. He hasn't found John yet, he finds him in the final issue. Spoilers. So John Jameson, like a lot of things that Mark Gruenwald did, is rooted in deep Marvel continuity. He is the son of J. Jonah Jameson, publisher of the Daily Bugle that Peter Parker / Spider-Man works at. He's always been a pilot and an astronaut, and in some early Spider-Man comics, he went to the moon, found a gem that turned him into a werewolf. I don't know why Dreadman Druid wants to have this power, but apparently he does. John Jameson doesn't really have this power anymore. Spider-Man figured out a way to cure him from it. Whatever. What I'm curious about are the other elements to Dreadman Druid's plan. Why does he need Nightshade to create an army of werewolves? And then on top of that, why is he luring other werewolves into his clutches? We're going to see that in just a page. Why is Dreadmond planning on capturing Dr. Druid? That's a total coincidence. Back in the pit, Captain America comes across another Marvel Comics superhero, Wolfsbane. She used to be one of the New Mutants. At this point in time, she was with X-Factor. And she was a werewolf, but not a supernatural werewolf. She was a mutant. That was her power, is to shapeshift into a werewolf type of creature with the senses and powers of a werewolf. And she basically just recaps the story thus far to us, even though if we've been reading these issues before, we know it. There's a guy named Moonhunter who's also working for Dreadmond Druid, and he's going around the world rounding up other werewolf-type superheroes and characters. Why does Dreadmond Druid need all of these werewolves? He never really does. He's just searching for the Moon Gem so that he can become the Star Wolf. It just doesn't make sense. Also, why isn't Wolfsbane helping Captain America against that big white wolf just a few minutes ago? What is going on here? But you know what? Wolfsbane showing up in a Captain America comic is pretty random. It's a trope. Let's go back to you, CapWolf.
Why is it that werewolves are such good storytellers? Because we have such good tales to tell.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, so Captain America goes, "Girl can talk. How? Need to learn." And Wolfsbane instantly gets what he's trying to do and says, "Trying to talk, are ya?" And she teaches Captain America how to talk. Yeah, I kind of wish she hadn't, because the way he talks is basically like a cartoon dog. We also cut to the team X-Force led by Cable, and one of his team, Shatterstar, comes up. There's this sterling dialogue. "Cable, Shatterstar. Farrell's missing. How long? Just saw her at Lights Out last night. We'll find her." Farrell is another werewolf superhero. Cable's showing up for just 2 panels. Yeah, that basically counts as another trope, so I'm afraid it's back to CapWolf. Take it away.
A lot of superhero movies being made out there. Not too many werewolf movies. Those get made in Hollywood. Hollywood.
Well, that didn't sound too good, but neither does Captain America's speech. Need to be free. Captain America sounds like Astro from the Jetsons. It's not exactly a General Patton level speech. And what does Cap's speech lead to? A werewolf pyramid. So at least this story has that going for it. Captain America climbs to the top of the werewolf pyramid and shatters the cage, freeing everybody. Then we cut away to a subplot that's going on with a former Captain America supporting character. It used to be his girlfriend. She's named Bernie Rosenthal, and she was supposed to be watching out for one of Captain America's friends, the superhero D-Man, who, it should be noted, is mentally unstable and frequently homeless. He's wandered off. So we get 2 panels of those characters. I didn't think that I'd see either of those 2 in Captain America comics much, but Mark Gruenwald likes every character equally. That's a trope. Back to you, CapWolf.
Not sure if you've heard this one before. What did the werewolf eat after getting his teeth cleaned? The dentist.
Meanwhile, Dreadmond orders his 2 flunkies, Nightshade and Moonhunter, not to make any more mistakes. And he doesn't really have any specifics. He just tells them not to screw up. By the way, check out Moonhunter's costume. I mean, that is pure 90s excess. All sorts of huge shoulder pads, lots of silver, humongous boots, lots of black leather. Moonhunter does not really show up again after this comic. While Captain America leads the other werewolves out of the pit, out of the dungeon, trying to escape, they come across Wolverine. That's right, Wolverine is here for a pretty pointless cameo. He's been captured, and they decide that he's still under some hypnotic spell, and they can't free him. But look at this. Captain America is almost slashed by Wolverine reaching through the bars of his cell. Well, if Wolverine can do that, then all he has to do is unsheath his unbreakable adamantium claws and cut his way out. Doesn't make much sense, does it? But it's a pointless cameo. That's a trope. Back to you, CapWolf.
I know what you're all wondering. How do werewolves eat lunch? We wolf it down.
Ooh, I think CapWolf might come off better in this comic. Let's get back to the story. CapWolf opens a door, and who should be on the other side but Moonhunter? But Captain America leaps into action, giving him a massive tackle. Moonhunter takes a hit. He takes a hit like a quarterback that forgot to pick up his offensive lineman's bar tab. The wolves all swarm on top of Moonhunter, apparently tearing him to pieces, but then in the next panel, Captain America says, I said no hurting. Maybe a little late on that one. With Moonhunter knocked out, Captain America decides to remove his mask and see who it is. Maybe it's John Jameson, but no, it's just some guy. It's absolutely nobody. Pointless reveal. The werewolves continue on their way and instantly bump into another werewolf that's locked up. And this werewolf is Jack Russell, also known in Marvel Comics as Werewolf by Night. He's kind of their main werewolf character. That's what he is. He's a real werewolf. And I guess Nightshade had captured him and is using his blood to create an army of werewolves. Why? Why not, I guess. But anyway, Jack Russell is only there for a panel or two. Kind of a pointless cameo. It's just a deep pull from Marvel Comics history, so back to you, CapWolf. What have you got for us now?
Where do werewolves hate to shop? Where do werewolves hate to shop? The flea market.
Yeah, sure, great. Okay, so Captain America now demands that Nightshade cure him. And she's like, no, you're Captain America. I know that you're not going to hurt me, so you have no leverage on me. Captain America just goes, chain her to the table. And she says, no, I can't stand to be restrained. I'll help. Well, that's convenient. Captain America breaks through a door, and fortunately enough, it's the one that Dr. Druid and Dreadman Druid are behind. And while Dreadman Druid's werewolves slow down Captain America, Dreadman slits Dr. Druid's throat. It's part of a ritual. The blood touches the moon gem to activate things. It looks like Rick Levins, the artist, forgot to draw blood coming from Dr. Druid's throat, so the colorist just sort of had to fill some in. Strange. And Dreadman Druid starts to transform into a werewolf. It's kind of strange that Dreadman Druid feels the need to slit Dr. Druid's throat, because the gem never needed blood before. It just would turn somebody that had it into the Starwolf. You'd think that that would be enough, but whatever. Don't worry. In the next issue, Captain America finds John Jameson, saves Dr. Druid, gets Nightshade to cure him. The end. So yeah, it's not a terrific story, but it gave us Captain America running around as a werewolf, still wearing his clothes, and it gave us Captain America's awesome stand-up material as a werewolf as well. So thank you very much for that, sir. And you know what? Whatever. It's goofy. It's fun. I liked it as a kid. These days I look at it and I go, what were they thinking? But it's just so absolutely bonkers. I kind of can't help but love it on that level. Like, it's not going to compete against something Alan Moore or Brian K. Vaughan or, I don't know, a million other great writers could come up with. It's goofy. It's very silly. But it's kind of fun on that level, isn't it? Anyway, we've got some other summer blockbusters coming up in the weeks ahead, so I hope you stick with me. I appreciate your support. I appreciate you tuning in and watching this show. Until next week, keep reading comics.